is for Allah, nothing but Allah. Ba is the beginning of Bismillah. Ta is for taqwa, bewaring of Allah. And Tha is for thawab, a reward. Ja is for Jannah, the garden of paradise. Ha is for Hajj, the blessed pilgrimage. Kha is for Khatam, the seal of the prophethood given to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this live episode of Ask Huda, broadcasting to you from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Dave sent us a question, and he says, do we take a stop at the center position while moving from right salam to left salam during taslim in salat? What Dave is referring to is a common question, and we see a lot of formats while people are delivering as-salam to conclude their prayers. And as we know, the prayers are inaugurated by takbir, Allahu Akbar, and concluded by at-taslim, saying assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So Dave is asking, is it part of the sunnah to pause in the center between the two salams? So when I say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, I return back, and I hope that the camera shows my face now, because a long shot would not show what I'm doing. So if the director can show my face, yes, thank you, Jazakallah khair. So when I say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, some people, when they go back, they pause, and then they say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So Dave is asking, is this pause part of the sunnah? The answer is no, it is not part of the sunnah. Neither what some of the people do strangely when they say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and they shake their nod their heads in a very funny way, and they say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah as if they are experiencing air turbulence or bumps on the road. All of this is baseless. Where do you learn your salat from? From the description of the companions, may Allah be pleased with them. They were the ones who saw the Prophet ﷺ pray, and he was the one who said, pray as you have seen me pray. So we have to relate this to his prayer and to the description of the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, and there is no such pause in the salam. So you say, as you turn, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is the right way of doing it, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Sharuq says, I read on social media that in the last Ashr of Ramadan, in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, Prophet's companions, may Allah be pleased with them, used to select 3 personal dua that they will ask Allah every night through the last 10 nights, and all their 3 supplications would be accepted. Is this true? Please advise. The beginning of Sharuq a question highlights the answer when he says, I read on social media. We, unfortunately, are tested by these so-called stupid phones or smartphones. They call them smart, but they have nothing to do with being smart. They are phones and PDAs and social media that can be utilized in goodness and in doing good for humanity and for Islam, but unfortunately it can also be used in evil. And unfortunately, whenever you go to a hospital and you are in the waiting room, you see all those in the room are studying their mobile phones. You go to houses, you go to visit relatives, your kids come over to visit you, your grandchildren, and they're all engaged on these so-called social media. Okay, are they doing it in what benefits them in this life, yani they're making money out of it, or are they gaining reward at the side of Allah Azza wa Jal by working on it, doing da'wah, learning? The answer is no. In 99%, it's just gossiping, video clips that are haram, that contain music, contain slandering of people, mocking of tribes and nations, and making fun of this or that. And all of this is haram. Now, what is more catastrophic and dangerous is when you begin to consider it a means of learning your religion. So the majority read without filtering, and this is a problem. Whatever junk and trash people throw at them, they embrace it. A brother from Nigeria sent me a message, and I think he sent it to all of his contacts on his mobile, and it stated that, do you know what is the origin of the tashahhud? It is a beautiful conversation between Allah and the Prophet ﷺ. When the Prophet said so-and-so, Allah replied so-and-so. And we all know that this is all baseless and has no foundation in Islam. Yet so many people, because they have received it, they consider it to be authentic. Not only that, there are those who unfortunately may fall into shirk by sending such messages. And this happens when you get a message, a very long message, saying that the keeper or the key holder of the Prophet's chamber in the Masjid of the Nabi in Medina, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his name is Sheikh Ahmed, and he saw a vision where the Prophet came to him and blah, 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 blah. And at the end, it shows a lot of nonsense, but at the end it says, do not hold it back. Send it to 10 or 15 or whatever number of your friends, and you will receive great bounties and reward from Allah within 10 days. A man sent it, and he got $1 million, depending on the country. Some they say Bahraini dinar or dirham or whatever. Some say Kuwaiti dinar, some, depending on the country. They managed to edit it. And there was this person who ignored it and deleted it, and he lost his daughter. Another one became bankrupt within 1 week and lost all of his money. A third one died in a car accident. All of this is shirk, believing in it and acting upon it, distributing it, anticipating the financial reward, or fearing that something harmful would happen to you. Doing this is shirk. And I remember someone brought me something like this about Sakina or Zainab, or one of these ladies who shed a drop of tear because of the illness of someone, and she was cured, etc. And it came in a vision, and so on. And he brought this to me in the masjid, stating to me that he knows that this is shirk, and someone has been circulating it around the neighborhood, putting it in over cars and under the houses, and he knows that this is blatant shirk. So I read it and I said, Subhanallah. And he said, Subhanallah, Sheikh, look how people have gone down to what level. So I was agreeing with him, and I gave him the paper, and I said, okay, tear it or burn it. And the guy gave it back to me and said, Sheikh, you do that. And I was shocked. Now, you were confessing that this is shirk and this is superstitions, and that you could not agree more, and now you're afraid? He said, well, better safe than sorry. And this is definitely the wrong way of doing it. So in terms of Sharukh's question, the answer is that this is baseless. There are no 3 supplications that the companions used to specifically ask Allah for in the last 10 nights, and they would come true. The only supplication we know of, which Mother Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, and may Allah curse those who curse her or slander her, she asked the Prophet ﷺ, if I were to detect the night of Qadr, what should I say? And he said, say, Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. Sami from Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamullah.
Sheikh, my question is, what's the ruling regarding giving adhan in the year of a newborn? I checked in a couple of places. In books from Dar es Salaam, it says you should give. On Islamic Q&A, it says you should give. But one sheikh from University, Medina University, he told me that this is based on Da'if Hadith, and it's better not to give adhan. Can you please share your opinion on this?
I will, inshallah. I will.
Okay.
Any more questions?
No.
Okay. Brother Sami from Pakistan is asking about the issue of giving the adhan in the right ear of a newborn. And this was mentioned as a prophetic sunnah. And Ibn al-Qayyim, may Allah have mercy on his soul, mentioned it in his book about the newborn. And a lot of the scholars mentioned it. But as you know, as Muslims, we have foundations to go back to. And these foundations are the Quran, which is fixed and known and cannot be altered or changed. And then there is the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, which completes, which explains, which elaborates and clarifies a lot of the Quran. However, the Sunnah, there is what is authentic and there is what is not authentic. And what is not authentic is graded into a number of different categories. Among them is the fabricated, al-mawdu', or that is a blatant lie, al-makdhub, or that it is not at all related to reality, such as al-batil. There is da'if jiddan, very weak. There is da'if, weak. And this is an issue of ijtihad among scholars of hadith. Therefore, if you come to such an issue as giving the adhan in the newborn ear, it has to be reported to us through an authentic hadith. And when we cross-examine the narrations and the chain of narrators, and we look into what the scholars of this science have judged it to be, we find that they say it is not authentic. And there is also another addition to it where you give iqama in the left ear. And also this is not authentic. Hence, when we come to such a conclusion, as Muslims, we do not depend and rely on what the scholars say if they speak in something that is not their profession. So if I know that this sheikh is, his speciality is in tafsir, and his knowledge is so vast and huge in tafsir, but he admits himself that I'm not good in fiqh. So if he gives me a fatwa, whether halal or haram, I may refrain and think twice. And if he grades the hadith to be authentic or not authentic, I also may think twice before accepting his verdict. Likewise in fiqh, when a scholar is an expert in fiqh, he knows all the different opinions of the scholars, and he knows how we reach this verdict or ruling. Where did we stem it from? What are the qawa'id al-fiqhiyya al-kubra? What are the usul al-fiqh applied to it? The different schools of thought. MashaAllah, he's excellent. However, when it comes to the tafsir of ayah, he may not have that knowledge. So I may refrain in learning from him in tafsir. Or when it comes to grading a hadith, whether it's authentic or not, as we have here in this issue, then I also may refrain from that. So when we go to the scholars of hadith, the specialists in this science, they tell us that the hadith is not authentic, and this is the correct opinion. That this is not a sunnah, you should not do it, and our religion is based on authentic hadiths. So there's no need to say that it's not harmful to do it. Yes, it is not harmful to do it, but if it were a part of our religion, it would have been backed by an authentic hadith, and it is not and Allah knows best. Hiba from Qatar.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam rahmatullah.
I heard that if you fight with someone for more than 3 days with a Muslim brother or sister, your sin is not accepted, like for your whole life. So I want to know whether this is true or not.
What is not accepted?
Your siyam, your fasting
Your siyam.
is not accepted at all.
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah. Any more questions?
No, thank you.
You're welcome. Hiba from Qatar says that she heard that whoever quarrels or fights with his brother or another Muslim, his fasting would not be accepted. Is this true? No, the answer is no. This is not true at all. The Prophet said, لا يحل لمسلم أن يهجر مسلما فوق ثلاث. It is not permissible for a Muslim to boycott or to abandon, meaning not communicate, not talk, not return the salam, with another Muslim for more than 3 days. And the best of them is the one who initiates salam to his brother, meaning after these 3 days. Now, in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is showing us the mercy of Islam when Allah Azza wa Jal puts a limit for you to vent. Getting angry, being upset, getting offended from something that your brother had done is natural. We're not angels. We have to have these feelings. However, Islam channels these feelings and governs them. So Islam tells us that you have 3 days and you're entitled to be mad, not to speak to him, not to return his salam, not to talk to him. This is your right. After 3 days, you have no right at all. And what would happen in other narrations, the Prophet told us that the deeds, the good deeds, do not go up, are not uplifted and displayed to Allah Azza wa Jal for approval. Not that they are invalid or not accepted, but they are not approved every Monday and Thursday, as in some of the hadiths that were mentioned. The deeds are uplifted to Allah Azza wa Jal. And Allah says, wait until they reconcile. So this is a great threat, but it is not a deterrent for you to stop doing good deeds such as fasting and praying, but rather to try your level best and go and reconcile with those you had problems with or you had quarreled with. And Allah knows best. Vahab says, it is correct that only Fridays the person could pray through the forbidden time, which is Dhuhr time. Now, we know that the Prophet ﷺ had given us times not to pray in. So after Fajr, you may not pray until the sun rises, about 10 to 15 minutes. And after Asr, you're not allowed to pray until the sun sets. And when the sun at the meridian, when the sun is exactly in the middle of the sky, about 5 to 10 minutes before the adhan of Dhuhr, we're not allowed to pray. So he's asking, is Friday exempted from this? It's an issue of dispute, and the most authentic opinion is that it is exempted from this prohibition, because the hadith stated that one of the virtues of Friday is that if you have a total bath and you put your perfume and you go to the masjid and you pray as much as Allah allows you to until the imam reaches the pulpit, which indicates that the time of prohibition is not included. So you can pray as well throughout until the imam enters the masjid and begins his khutbah. Then this means that you are allowed to pray. Asif from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam to Allah.
Yes, sir. Actually, I have one question, and it is regarding, I'm from India actually, and there is very common shirk and all. So what I want to know is, for example, if we have got some relatives, they are using taweez, or it is also another practice that they put like a paper on the first room of their house where there is like a square and some numbers and all are there. How to dispose them? If we are able to convince and if we are able to remove, what to do? How to dispose? That is the question.
Okay. I will answer you, inshallah. Fatima from Gambia. Fatima.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Listen to me from the phone, please, and mute your TV.
Yeah, I want to ask a question.
Yes, what can I do for you, Fatima?
There is one boy who wants to marry a girl,
Okay.
and a girl's parents said the boy is a slave. So that's what I want to ask.
Who is rejecting the girl's parents?
Parents, yeah, they said the boy is a slave.
What is that?
It's a slave. It's a slave. Just like somebody who is a slave and non-slave.
Okay.
Somebody cannot marry for it.
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah. Okay, Asif from Saudi Arabia says that there are people in India who use ta'viz and amulets and things that have numbers and characters written on them for protection or for bringing this or that. And he said that we know that this is shirk, but if we are able to convince them, and this is indeed one of the greatest deeds you can offer, if we can convince them that this is shirk and to get rid of it, how to do this? Easily by opening it while reciting Ayat al-Kursi and the three quls, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدْ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِالْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِالنَّاسِ, and burning it while doing this. This is the best way of disposing of it, and it will not harm you, inshallah. Muhammad from India. Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamullah.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Listen to me from the phone, Muhammad.
Okay, sir. I'm listening to you.
Yes, what can I do for you, Akhi?
Sir, I have a question regarding Akika.
Okay.
Sir, how can we celebrate this Akika? Because my wife is pregnant and she's going to deliver a baby. So I plan to make Akika.
Okay.
Can you explain me how can we do this?
Okay. Any more questions?
No, sir. Thank you very much. Only one question.
Okay, I will answer, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Fatima from Gambia says that a boy proposed to a girl and her parents refused, saying that he's a slave. And I don't know what is she meant by slave. Maybe he is an actual slave. I don't know if slavery is still active in Gambia or not. Assuming it is not active, and she meant that he is born out of wedlock or anything, this is something to do with not the parents, the father of the girl. He is the guardian, he is the wali. And the marriage cannot be done without the consent and approval of the guardian, the wali, the father, because he's the one who's going to propose. And this is the Islamic way of getting married. The father of the girl addresses the boy who's proposing. He says, I give you my daughter in marriage. And the boy says, I accept her marriage to myself. This is how it's done. Not what people think the opposite. The boy says, give me your daughter in marriage, and the father says, I do, or I give her. It's the other way around. So his consent is what makes it or breaks it. If you can manage to get that, alhamdulillah. If not, then move on and look for someone else. Muhammad from Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Please, if I may, I have 3 questions, please.
Yes, Akhi.
Please, my first question is, what's the earliest time for prayer of Salatul Duha?
Okay.
The second question is, what's the Islamic ruling for a Muslim with urinary incontinence problem?
Who does what?
Urinary incontinence, someone that cannot hold urine, the urine leaks.
Okay.
While prayer.
Okay.
And the third is slavery still practiced anywhere in the world, as in the Islamic law?
Is what?
slavery is it still practiced in the world?
Okay. What is your question about slavery?
As in, is it still active? Is it possible to have a slave now in this present day and time?
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah. Muhammad from India and Muhammad from Nigeria, we will inshallah try to answer the questions after the break, so stay tuned.
Go ahead, Ya Shu'aib. Recite from ayah number 16 to 26.
Yeah, okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولقد خلقنا الإنسان ونعلم ما توسوس به نفسه ونحن أقرب إليه من حبل الوريد.
تلقى المتلقيان عن اليمين وعن الشمال قعيد ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد.
جاءت سكرة الموت بالحق ذلك ما كنت منه تحيد ونفخ في الصور ذلك يوم الوعيد وجاءت كل نفس معها سائق وشهيد لقد كنت في غفلة من هذا فكشفنا عنك غطاءك فبصرك اليوم حديد.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Brother Muhammad from India is soon to be blessed by a newborn, inshallah, and he's asking about al-aqiqah. And al-aqiqah is a ram or a sheep that is slaughtered when a person is blessed by a baby girl, and 2 rams if he is to be blessed by a baby boy. And these rams are slaughtered as a form of expressing your gratitude to Allah Azza wa Jal. What to do with these rams? Scholars say, the majority of them, that you do as you do in Udhiyah, which we slaughter in the month of Hajj, on the Eid of Hajj. So you divide them into 3 parts. 1/3 you give in charity. The 2/3 you give as a gift to your loved ones. And the last 1/3 you consume yourself with your family. And scholars say that if you prepare food with both of these rams or one of them and invite your friends and relatives to feast and eat from it, this is also permissible, insha'Allah. Muhammad from Nigeria had 3 questions. The first question is, what is the earliest for praying duha prayer? Duha prayer is prayed after the sun rises the length of a spear. And scholars estimated this to be about 15 minutes from sunrise. So when the sun rises, about 15 minutes from its sunrise, which is usually mentioned in the calendars where it mentions the timing of prayer, after Fajr they have sunrise. Add to it 15 minutes and then you can pray, inshallah. His second question I could not understand, but I think that he was asking about urinating in these special places in Western toilets, public toilets, where they, unirails, I think they call it, or it's nothing to do with the unirail, but it has something like that, where men urinate while standing up next to one another. So if this is his question, doing so is permissible if you're alone and there's no one there and you are safe from getting the urine back to your body and clothes, and also you have the means of cleansing yourself after finishing urinating. But this is quite difficult to ensure, especially when we know that you cannot guarantee no one would enter and watch you do this or is next to you, and this is not the right thing to do. Alhamdulillah, you can enter a normal toilet and answer the call of nature there. Hiba from Qatar.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, I have some questions.
Yes.
What is the ruling about salah? Like, if you don't have khushu', do you have to repeat your salah? Or let's say you prayed 4, but you have that you prayed 5. Do you have to repeat the salah again?
You have what?
Question, do you have to repeat your salah again if you think you prayed 4 and you just prayed 3?
Okay.
And I have another question. I have my cousins coming here, and I don't know how to interact with them. Like, I live with my husband, and they're coming for vacation. So what is the ruling on Islam to how to treat your cousins? Like, do you have to treat them like you're not mahrams, or it's allowed to talk to them? And I have a question of that. And one last question is, people wonder on which hadith, because they wonder people about that hadith.
Okay, Hiba's line was disconnected. The third question we could not find, so inshallah she will call again. Amber from Saudi.
Sheikh.
Amber.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, first of all, I'm really glad to be see you on your show back. I think it's after a long time I got to know that you're back on this channel. The last time I called, my questions weren't answered. I don't know if they've answered or not, but I was waiting since 6:30, and now I see you show finally on.
Alhamdulillah.
So just welcome back on the show.
Jazakumullah khair.
Sheikh, my question, I have this question about, could you please tell me the difference between Quran and Hadith? There's people who argue that we just need Quran to understand. I mean, other than Quran, we don't need Hadith. Like, Quran is enough for our understanding of Islam. And like, there are certain things like fasting, people who are living on the poles, like Iceland or places like, you know, where like the fast takes place about like 20 to 21 hours. I don't know. Hadith has no hadith. There is no hadith that tells us like fasting on poles. How is it possible, or like when the fast begins or when it ends?
Okay, I understand your question.
So, Yani, you understand, right?
Yes, I understand. Any more questions?
There was some argument going on, so please clarify me, first of all, like the difference between Quran and Hadith, that you need Hadith. And if there is a certain Hadith that tells us that fasting on poles, what is the ruling on that?
I will answer you. Any more questions?
No, thank you. Inshallah, next time I'll come with more questions.
Inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Umar from Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum.
Salamtullah.
Jazakallah khair.
Wa jazak akhi. What can I do for you?
Sheikh, please, I want to ask you if playing football is allowed in Islam.
As a player or watching?
As a player. And I want to know if masturbating is allowed in Islam to protect yourself from having zina.
Okay. Any more? Any more questions?
And the third one is, if you leave your head, as a man, to leave your head to be long, like a woman head to be very long, Is it allowed?
Okay. Okay, I think I got his questions. Muhammad from Nigeria's last question was, is slavery found nowadays? And the answer is, to my knowledge, no. Nowadays, we don't have any slaves that are legitimate or Islamically accepted, because we know that slavery in Islam can only be channeled through prisoners of wars and those who are born out of slavery. But to simply take someone or get someone in captivity, or someone sells his daughter or son to you because of poverty or because of a loan, this is not legitimate slavery, and it's not permissible to do such a thing. The Islamic slavery is abolished at the moment until Islam regains its strength and Muslims go back to their honor and dignity and practicing Islam. And when we have the strength for that, then it can only be under the flag of a Muslim ruler, a true Muslim ruler, not any Tom, Dick, or Harry in one of the caves here or there. Hiba from Qatar says, the person who does not pray with khushu', is he obliged to pray again? The answer is no. The prayer is done, but whether he will get 1/10 of it or 50% of it or fully accredited to it, this depends on his khushu'. And what about if he is doubtful whether he prayed 3 or 4 and he concluded the prayer praying 3? Now this is a mistake, because he dropped a pillar. If he's sure and certain of that, then he has to pray again, and his prayer is invalid because he dropped a full rak'ah. But if this is frequent, someone with something that is OCD-ish, obsessive compulsive disorder, and every single salah, after finishing, did I pray 2 or 3? Did I pray 4 or 5? Did I pray this or that? No, this person is sick. So whatever doubts he gets after concluding the salah is correct and valid. He should ignore it. But if he gets these doubts within the salah, in this case, he has to be in the safe side and add a rak'ah, just not to pray less than that. Mustafa from Gambia.
Hello?
Yes, Mustafa. Listen to me from the phone, please.
Yes, okay. Yes? Yeah, I'm listening to you from the phone.
Okay, mute your television and give me his question.
I think the girl who asked something about the Gambia on slavery.
Yes. Mute your television.
Yes, okay. It is really to do with the caste system.
Okay.
The caste system, where you have, they call in here we have people they call smiths, will not marry because you are a blacksmith. You will not marry. They will not want to give you their daughter on that. And this slavery that she's talked about only has to do with some ancient thing that never, as you rightly said, never existed. So because you have been a slave or an inheritant of that, now for these other people will not want to marry their daughter. I think that's the question she was asking.
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khair for clarification. Bilal from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamullah.
I have 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Is it permissible for me to give my mother's sister zakah?
Your auntie?
Yeah, auntie, yeah.
Okay.
Because her husband isn't doing too well, so they have financial problems.
Second question.
What is the ruling on this? And the second one?
Yes.
Yeah. This another. This is my mother's first cousin. She's a widow. She lives in Riyadh. Can she come and perform Umrah without a mahram with me? Can she travel to Jeddah without a mahram?
Okay. Any more questions?
Thank you, Jazakallah.
Jazak. I will answer you, inshallah. Hiba from Qatar says that her cousins visit her in her home. So how can she deal with them? First of all, if they're male, they are non-mahram. Neither her nor her husband should allow this. She cannot meet them, she cannot communicate with them because they are non-mahram. Her husband can meet with them, sit with them, host them if he wishes, but she has no right in talking or communicating with them or coming out to meet them. Amber from Saudi Arabia, she addresses a very long topic, which is that there are people who claim that there is no need for the hadith. All what we need is the Quran. And this was addressed by the Prophet ﷺ in a prophecy when he said, I should not see a person leaning on his couch, لا ألفين أحدكم متكئا على أريكته, and he claims, this man, this individual, that whatever we find in Allah's book we will take, and whatever else we will neglect and ignore. By Allah, the Prophet said, I have been given the Quran and similar to it with it, referring to the Sunnah. So those who claim that there is no need for the hadith are in great danger, because the Quran cannot be understood without the hadith. And those who ignore the hadith completely and only rely on the Quran, they're not Muslims. They have committed an act of apostasy, because how will they pray? How do they know that Fajr is 2 rak'ahs, Maghrib is 3, and the rest are 4? How do they know that each rak'ah has 2 sajda and 1 ruku' only? How do they know that you have to recite the Fatiha and a surah afterwards, and to say this and to say that? Let alone how to know the percentages of zakat. It can be 2.5, it can be 5%, it can be 10%. And it can differ hugely when it comes to cattle and livestock. So how would you know this without the Sunnah? And there are so many things in the Quran, in the Sharia, in the religion, that can only be clarified by the Sunnah. So those who come and claim that they only believe and embrace the Quran are apostates if they ignore the Sunnah. Now, there are people in the middle who are wannabe apostates, but they're confused. So they're like gays coming out of the closet and not being prepared to declare themselves as homos, in the sense that they say, we believe in the Quran, but we take from the Sunnah what we like, and whatever we don't like or doesn't go into our logic, we reject it. And these are the principles of al-Mu'tazila or the Aqlaniyun, who only apply their logic, and whatever their logic approves they take from the Quran and from the Sunnah, by the way. Not only from the Sunnah, but even from the Quran, they can easily reject things because their logic does not accept it. And this is again a breach of Islam, because it defies the purpose of submitting your will to Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, Sister Amber said that they give an evidence that there isn't anything mentioned in the hadith about fasting in the polar areas. Surprise, there isn't anything mentioned in the Quran. So would they reject the Quran as well? What kind of logic is this? This is sick logic, because these people don't even know how to cleanse themselves when they answer the call of nature properly. They don't. They have no knowledge. They are like empty barrels. If you hit one of them, you hear big sound and noise and pounding, but it's empty. Allah Azza wa Jal did not mention to us in the Quran what those who are in the polar areas should do. The Prophet did, alayhi salatu wassalam. When he told us about the Antichrist, about the Dajjal, and that he spends 40 days on earth. One day is equivalent to a year, another day is equivalent to a month, a third is equivalent to a week, and the rest of his days are similar to ours. So the companions asked him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, O Prophet of Allah, the day that is a year long, how should we pray in it? Should we pray 5 prayers only, as we do in a day? The Prophet said, no, alayhi salatu wasalam. اقدروا له قدره, meaning you have to estimate. So this year the sun travels so slow that it takes a whole year, 360 days, to rise from the east to the west. This means that you have to calculate each day by hours and pray the 5 daily prayers. And from this, the scholars found the evidence that those who do not have morning and evening, they have full 6 months of daytime or full 6 months of nighttime. How can they pray? They should estimate, like in the hadith of the Dajjal. So they say, okay, 24 hours, we divide it into this. And they should look to the closest country next to them that has a sunset and a sun rise. And they should fast the day, even if it was 20, 21 hours long, because this is what Allah ordered the people living on earth to fast from the break of dawn till sunset. And Allah did not leave to us a limitation. And having said that, those people living in these areas, the real Muslims, they say that Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who gives the power. We work, we go to school, we live our normal lives. It's difficult, but it is manageable, alhamdulillah. Umar from Nigeria says, what's the ruling on playing football in Islam? This is permissible as long as your awra is covered and that you do not gamble and you do not contribute in something that is haram, you don't harm others. This is permissible as long as you pray on time, you don't fool around or mess around with your prayer. He's asking about masturbation. Masturbation is haram. He says that for fear of falling in zina, no one falls in zina unless he breaks a number of red tape. Then he reaches the level of zina. Don't cross these red tapes and you won't be close to it, inshallah. What's the ruling on letting your hair go and having a long hair? If you're having long hair that imitates women, this is haram, and the one who does it is cursed. And if you do it imitating disbelievers, this is haram, and the one who does it is cursed. A Muslim has an identity that she should not play with. Mustafa from Gambia is clarifying the question we had about Fatima from Gambia. He says that she was addressing the caste system. So in Gambia, it seems that there are those who are classified as the descendants of slave. So they are not free people. They were brought, their ancestors were slaves and then they were freed. Maybe they're rich, maybe they are businessmen, yet still looked down upon by the people. Depends on the culture. However, the father of the girl has the right whether to approve or to disapprove. He may think that if I give my daughter to this man, though he's righteous, though he is rich, that my family would shun me or disown me, and this might cause problems for my daughter's children in the future to be labeled as such. And he may feel that it is best not to go ahead with it. This is his judgment to call, and Allah knows best. Bilal from Saudi, she says, what's the ruling on giving money to her aunt who is needy and poor? If she's needy and poor, this is permissible. There's no problem in that. She says, my mother's cousin is coming from Riyadh for Umrah and she is not with a mahram. So is it permissible for me to take her to Umrah? It is permissible for you to accompany her to Umrah, but it is haram for her to travel from Riyadh to Jeddah without a mahram. If she takes the sin and she comes to Jeddah, you taking her to Mecca is permissible and there's nothing on you, inshallah. Saeed says that he has a problem with emitting madhi, and is this normal or not? The answer is, this is normal. It's a sign of manhood. Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, said in authentic hadith that he was a man who emitted a lot of madhi. And the Prophet ﷺ told him to wash his private parts and to wash whatever or sprinkle whatever it touches from his underwear. So he says, if I put it in the washing machine, but the traces are still there afterwards, is it obligatory on me to remove it? That is the marks. The answer is, I believe that your washing machine needs to be repaired. it is impossible that you wash your underwear that has prosthetic fluid on it that cannot be removed by washing. There's something wrong with your washing machine. This is normal. Sprinkling it does the job. Even if there are marks, ignore it and pray with it. Nahid says, is guidance residential, that is home owning, Islamic financing halal? I don't know. I have to look into the way they are providing this financing. Abdullah says, is a man غير mahram, a non-mahram for his stepdaughter? The answer is no. A man is a mahram for his wife's daughter, and a woman is a mahram for her husband's son from a different wife. And finally, Muhammad says, is it permissible to give sadaqah on behalf of someone without telling them? Does they get the reward? The answer is yes. They get the reward even if they don't know. They get the reward even if they are not related to you. It's like a gift, and Allah Azza wa Jal is most generous, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. And with this we conclude our session. Next week, next Saturday, I won't be hosting this live show due to traveling, but the following week I will be there, inshallah. And until then, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Is for Allah, nothing but Allah. Ba is the beginning of Bismillah. Ta is for taqwa, bewaring of Allah. And Tha is for thawab, a reward. Ja is for Jannah, the garden of paradise. Ha is for Hajj, the blessed pilgrimage. Kha is for Khatam, the seal of the prophethood given to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.